It's Gamescom week. It's kind of like E3, but better. It's got a fantastic lineup of games. One could say a fantastic, possibly awesome lineup of games. I think that makes sense. Gamescom weeks and fall game launches today on. Don't Bubsy over the intro.
What could possibly go wrong? There. I Bubsied over the intro.
Bubsy. We'll use that in post. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Press B to Cancel, your favorite sort of retro gaming podcast. Not so much this week. It's a Gamescom week, which is the world's largest gaming trade show / festival that we have currently. E3 died several years ago, and we have Summer Games Fest, but really when it comes to the big industry news, it looks like it's Gamescom, which is over in Germany. So we're ending the week of dozens and dozens of gaming related announcements, new trailers, industry news, a lot of great stuff. We're no experts over here, but we're definitely gaming fans, much like you guys listening to us and watching us right now. And there's a few games that we want to talk about, the ones that we're most hyped for fall of 2025. Like I'm telling you, like Wolf, say hi first off.
Howdy.
First off, just at the beginning of the year and the spring especially, I thought was just a killer season for games, from Monster Hunter Wilds being one of my highlights to Blueprints. Just so many great titles. I thought we were done, especially when Grand Theft Auto 6 got delayed. I thought we were pretty good until the holidays, but man, was I wrong. There is still tons coming, and not just holidays. There's like a dozen titles coming just in the fall season itself. It's wild. So I was going to run through some headlines with you and just kind of talk about some of our picks for the Gamescom week. Gamescom and other announcements just outside of that. How's that sound?
See, yeah, that sounds great. See, I'm coming from the other side. I feel like Gamescom was weak.
So you're not wrong, because my game of the show was in the pre-show. So here's the thing. Both you and I watched opening night live, which is I guess the marquee online streaming event for Gamescom. Gamescom as a trade show goes the entire week, and there's a few other companies doing their own directs or announcements. But Open Out Live at the start of the week was kind of the hallmark show, or it's supposed to be. It's hosted by Jeff Keighley, who's the same guy who does Summer Games Fest, and he also does the Game Awards. So he's kind of like the face of gaming in a lot of ways. So he took on this hosting job of the show, and the production values are fine, but I did find it weird during the entire show how they would spend like 15 minutes talking about certain games, or like there would be a segment, for example, Clair Obscur. They had the composer and the main singer from the soundtrack there live to do a song, and I thought they would do an orchestra thing. No, it was literally just the dude with a guitar, very French by the way, and his lead singer singing one track, but it wasn't the full track. They only had like 2 minutes on stage for that, and it was awesome. But then they do 15-20 minutes for something I don't care about. It's kind of a weird show. And uneven, but there's still some good announcements there, I think.
Well, you also have to remember that I say what you will about Jeff Keighley and being a sellout or whatever, but I do feel like he knows how to put together a show, and Gamescom isn't his show.
Yeah.
He does Game Awards and Summer Game Fest, like you said, and those are usually well distributed. You usually get as much information as you're looking to get from any given thing, or as much time is needed for any presentations or people or performances. So like it's a little different at Gamescom, which has been around for I don't know, a long time now. I don't think it's been as long as E3, sure. But it's outlived E3.
Yeah, for sure, right? I mean, and like I miss E3, but Summer Games Fest, to a degree, has kind of picked up the slack from E3, although it's not quite the same in terms of like a lot of studios like Sony and Microsoft, Nintendo realize they don't need E3 and they don't necessarily need Summer Games Fest. In the past couple of years, the week of Summer Games Fest, you would find them doing their own thing in the same week. But this past year, a lot of announcements happened after Summer Games Fest was well and done. So it's definitely more than ever. It feels like the big studios, the big players, don't feel like they're beholden to these like conferences anymore, which is kind of a shame. But there's still lots of announcements from all the big studios at these things.
I mean, that also makes sense, because it used to be like when E3 was in its heyday, it's because, you'd get some maybe some video pieces around around the nation from news networks or whatever. Usually just magazine and maybe some website coverage, and that was
Right.
about it. And this was back before the days of YouTube, so the website coverage was, a GeoCity style blog post that
Right.
was not much to look at. So with the advent of YouTube and streaming being so accessible these days to everybody, it makes sense that they've all just been kind of like, we don't need to spend all this money
Yeah.
on a booth. We can just put together our own video in our own time and make it what we want.
And save a ton of money, right? And they can still
Yeah.
have side events or have invites, game publications. What few games media is left these days, they can still invite them over to play these games in private. I've seen a lot of folks for games media doing remote play sessions using Parsec and the like, actually, to remotely play these games without having to install
Oh
anything. It's
wow.
interesting, yeah. But Gamescom does have in-person booths. There's a number of titles there that are playable for the first time at Gamescom this week. So we've been getting, like, slowly through the week, a lot of feedback from Games Pressed on these titles. So definitely exciting times. But when we say, like, Jeff Keighley is, if there's one thing, you're right. He knows how to put on a show, and he also knows how to make money with the show in terms of the trailers and what to charge, right? And I'll talk about pricing of some of the Gamescom ads on his show in a little bit for one particular game. But he definitely knows how to run the business side of these shows as well. Whether you like it or not, there's a reason why there's world premieres and a ton of trailers. It's because he's making money doing these shows. They're not
Yeah.
free. But one thing that I found was interesting is one announcement that everybody's dying for the past couple years was Silksong. And I expected them to drop some kind of update about Silksong during Opening Night Live with Jeff Keighley's show, because that's usually what he's known for. He's usually known for these big scoops, right? All he said in the opening was basically, he said there would be a announcement from Team Cherry, and when the show happened, all he could say was, I can confirm that Silksong is coming out this year, right? So immediately people are like, oh, what the hell does that mean? Christmas, right? Maybe end of the year, maybe October. So then it came out shortly after that Team Cherry was going to do their own announcement on their own YouTube channel, and it was an announcement for Silksong. I don't know what I was expecting from the announcement. I thought maybe it'd be 5-10 minutes, some kind of maybe demo gameplay, something maybe substantive, but at the very least, I just wanted a release date. So I tuned into their announcement on, I think it was Thursday morning, and I swear it was like not even 2 minutes long. It's the world's shortest video, but it did announce Silksong coming out September 4th, which is, it's interesting to have a date finally after years. What do you think about Silksong's date?
It was kind of wild that they were just like, yeah, now it's out in 2 weeks. It's kind of weird that, I guess, with an indie game you don't have to save up, especially like with a lot of the AAA titles these days being 70-80 bucks. With an indie game, they're usually $20 to $30 in this category, and so I guess you don't need as much warning that the game is going to drop, which
Yeah.
fair. But it still seems weird to me that they waited until 2 weeks before release to be like, "Hey, it's coming out."
At the same time, too, it's just because it's been in development for so long, right? This is, for those who don't, I mean, for those living underneath a rock who don't know, Silksong was originally supposed to be DLC for Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, going back to, I think it was 2014. It's one of that, we had a span of several games funded by Kickstarter, right? We had Shovel Knight, we had Hollow Knight, and we had, gosh, what was another one? There's a few of them. And Hollow Knight was, I seem to remember being hugely successful during Kickstarter. It really wasn't, though. I'm actually going to pull up the Kickstarter page for a second because I think it's funny. There it is. They ultimately raised 57,000 Australian dollars. That's about 40,000 US.
Wow.
They didn't even meet all their stretch goals, which is interesting. And like, I know a lot of Kickstarter campaigns, they start with a small goal, and if it does take off, they add stretch goals over time, which is, I think, is what happened here with Hollow Knight. But one of the stretch goals was to add a second playable character, which was the Hornet, which would be ultimately going to be the Silksong as a DLC. But then they realized during development that it was much larger in scope of an idea, and they had enough funding from the sales of Hollow Knight to make it a standalone game. But I do find it interesting, some of the stretch goals, one of them was actually for a third character.
Wow.
Which, imagine that one. And then also bringing the game to PS Vita and all these other things. So I thought it was wildly successful. I thought this was a game that got millions of dollars in funding or something with its Kickstarter, because it sold 15 million copies. Like, it did gangbusters in terms of sales. There was I don't know if
Yeah.
you saw it. There was Jason Schreier, who's a games journalist with Bloomberg. He actually coordinated an interview with the folks at Team Cherry, which is a very small team. I want to say it's like 3-4 people. And he did an interview with them saying, what was development like? Why did it take 7 years for this to come out? And, you think for fans, you're thinking, oh, it must be development hell, right? The demands, the pressures of fans constantly hounding them for information. But the interview is almost like a feel good piece. It's like not a puff piece. It's just honestly, they just said, we made enough money with Hollow Knight. We're very humbled and fortunate that we could just make the game that we want to make and take as long as we needed to, and that they had fun doing it. They had developed like a workflow that just worked for them. And one of their guys who did all the sketch work for all the creatures just kept going. He kept making a number of sketches, and over time realized, I got to stop at some point, but I'm just enjoying making these things that end up being the game. So it's just a what could have been a DLC, maybe a couple hours of gameplay, is just going to be an expansively large Metroidvania. Are you excited for Silk Song? Do you want to play it, or were you a fan of Hollow Knight? I guess.
Um. Okay, so I actually had a conversation with my brother about this today. Um, Hollow Knight is a decent game. I will give
Hmm.
it that. I don't think it's the gold standard of the genre that most people seem to. Um, and I mean, where the game shines is, at least for me, is the actual combat and jumping mechanics, that sort of thing, and the end game content. Right where it lacks for me is the art style, the presentation, the fact that nothing really stands out most of the time. Um, a lot of the enemies come off as obnoxious because they just blend in with the background and foreground.
Okay.
And, when you're trying to play a game well and you can't because you can't see the enemies because they're the same fucking color palette as everything else, that's frustrating. Um, I also was not a big fan of the map system and the way they did that, especially like where you have to equip one of the emblems or whatever they're called to be able to see where you are on the map.
Oh, was
I didn't
that
care
what
for that.
that was gameplay? You had to equip an item to see the map.
You had to equip an item to see where you were on the map.
Oh, okay.
You
I
could
don't
see the
remember.
map,
Okay.
but it wouldn't show you where you were unless you had one of your emblem slots filled with an
Okay.
item, which
Well,
is so dumb to me. Like, I have to put on a badge to know where I am? What?
you gotta look at your compass, man. I mean, you did get multiple badge slots over time, right? If I remember right. I never beat this game, but I got
Yes.
a dozen or so hours into it. But I remember unlocking certain things.
You wind up probably about with about a dozen badges. I think
Okay.
it's an odd number, but somewhere around there.
So I will say for me, I agree with you on the art style. That's the worst part of the game for me as well, and it's also why I originally didn't want to play it. I just didn't see the appeal of it. I don't like bugs. I don't want to play as a bug. I don't want to deal with bugs. I find them gross. And then also the art style. I don't want to say it looks like a Flash game, but I'll be honest with you. At the time, it kind of looked like a Flash game. I know it's not.
My my brother actually said that today too. He was like, "It
Yeah,
looks like a Flash game," because he couldn't get into it at all.
yeah,
Um, and I know a lot of people see similarities of like, the Burton-esque art style or
yeah.
particularly Nightmare Before Christmas. I can understand that. I don't necessarily agree with it. Um, but even then, that's not enough to just draw me into something like, I don't know.
If
There
they
were a
did,
couple of boss fights that I absolutely adored. I thought they
okay.
were spectacular. Hard as hell,
Oh
but
yeah,
I had fun with them even though they kept destroying me, right? The boss fights were really well designed. They were never pissing me off so much as like making me want to overcome them. Sometimes you play a game, the boss fights are just like so hard in stupid ways. Ragebound, I'm looking at you. That, that I don't want to play it anymore. Whereas in Hollow Knight, it was the mechanics were so fluid that I wanted to overcome it. I was like, I can see what I'm doing wrong. I'm just not reacting correctly or in time.
Yeah, so first off, I agree with you. The graphic style, if it came at you with a claymation style of graphics, that would have been really rad, and that definitely would have sealed it for me as a Burton-esque style. Otherwise, the 2D lack of shading, I guess, it really does feel like a Flash game, right? It's the vector art style. And then I could probably live with that if not for the background area to area. All it feels like is the color of the background changes blue, green, rust colored red,
And
whatever. But it's the same. It
that's
feels the same.
mostly what's going on. A lot of it, if it's
Yeah.
like if it looks remotely cavish, like the only thing that's changed is the color, like as
Right.
far as your eyes care.
Yeah.
Um, which I get it was a stylistic choice. Like you're in the green area, you're in the green area. You're in the
Right.
purple area, you're in the purple area. Like it signifies something. I get it. That's what they were going for. But I feel like they took that too far and didn't take into account being able to see everything else.
Right. And like when I look at this game as a Metroidvania, it does remind me of Metroid because Metroid or Super Metroid does that too, right? Where they definitely signify
Yeah.
you're in a different zone by basis of color, but there's more variety. Otherwise, I mean, the bosses, you're right, are awesome. The controls is what seals it for me. When I eventually did sit down to play it, and I did put serious amounts of hours into it on vacation years ago, the controls are flawless, right? Just the fighting, the dodging. I love how you can jump and downward attack, straight out of Zelda 2 back in
Yeah.
the day. It just feels like perfect controls. It is bullshit hard though, and I also struggle with bosses. And ultimately, that's probably why I bounced off it. Was the bosses are too much for me. I would love to go back to it though, and I've been debating it. But like, there's DLC for the original Hollow Knight. I haven't even touched, and I don't know if I want to invest the probably dozens of hours to finish the base game and then go in the DLC. But I look at Silk Song and I look at the years of hype for this, and I look at the trailer, and it definitely looks better.
It
I don't
does.
think it's 7 years later better, but
I don't
it's
this is not going to be a day one purchase for me by any
yeah,
means. Like I expect it'll review really well. I think people will love it just as much as they love the first one. Fair. I will probably based on what I've seen, I will probably like it a bit more than the first one. But
right.
I don't expect it to blow my mind by any means cuz it looks like more Hollow Knight just with a character that stands out more, so at least there's that.
Yeah, it's
But her mechanics look interesting, so I give it
yes.
that too.
I think more in the way of like more agile, more fluid, more items and toys to play with. I think you can throw like pins as daggers, throwing daggers, just also a lot of aerial attacks. I'd heard that there's more hubs to visit, more towns, I guess, to purchase things. Because Hollow Knight, it was the town on the surface, and you dive back down, and you could warp with the weird stag travel. So, but Silk Song, from my understanding, will be a much more expansive map. So I have a feeling the game will be everything from Hollow Knight, just more and bigger, which is not a bad thing. That's awesome. That's great. If you're a fan of
Yeah,
Hollow Knight, I think there's lots to be excited for. It just, yeah, the graphical style just does zero for me. Everything else, music, controls, the scope. I love Metroidvanias. I mean, you and I both like Metroidvanias,
yeah.
right? So there's tons to love there. It's just one of
I've
those games
beaten
where
like
it's hard to get across the
6 this year.
graphics, right? Yeah, it's one of the best Metroidvanias, but I'm with you. I don't think it's the best one. I just think it's a great one, right? And just I don't know. It's like Binding of Isaac, right? People love Binding of Isaac, and I think that's a great game, but the art style is hard for me to get past it. It's just
I
hard for me to
get
play
that.
that game, right?
Like I love that game, but yeah, I get that. The art style is it's a bit much sometimes.
Yeah. So we'll see. But I get it. So September 4th, Hollow Knight Silk Song. It's finally here. The meme is dead. Now people can go back to picking on Half-Life 3 never coming out, or a few other games that are like, no, was it No Man's Sky sequel? Sequel. The
Light no
next
fire.
game, Light No Fire. That's another one where it's like, it's never coming out. So Silk Song's off the table. I guess moving on to the next, I guess, big announcement for the show, Resident Evil Requiem. I have not played the last few Resident Evil games, but I know you and Chart have and both love them. How do you feel about Requiem from Capcom? What does that look like?
Um I'm looking forward to it. It looks like a more traditional Resident Evil experience based on the trailer I've seen, but I think they showed some gameplay in another presentation they did. I haven't watched that, unfortunately, so I don't know what the gameplay actually looks like. But the impression I get from this, did you watch that trailer or no, the gameplay?
My eyes kind of glazed over it. I was taking notes from other games.
Was it first person?
I don't know. Let me skim through this video. Is it first person?
Because
This
I'm
it
guessing
is.
not.
It
Is
is.
it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
that's
then it
different from
might
the other one,
be.
right? No, the other one was first person as well,
No,
wasn't it?
7 and 8 are first person.
Right.
And that's because they put you in some rando and were like, here, have at it. And 7 was very much a callback to the horror elements of what Resident Evil used to be. 8 leaned more into the action elements that Resident Evil started to become. I feel like the both of them as a pair are a great representation of the entire franchise, personally.
Right.
But 9, based on what I see in the gameplay, like not the gameplay, but that trailer they showed with the mom and daughter trying to get out and everything going on, it looks like it might exist somewhere between, like,
Okay.
but I'm guessing it's going to be more running than standing and fighting.
Like I'm always interested in the lore of Resident Evil, but it seems to be kind of all over the place. When they had Lady D in the other one, where it kind of felt it was more vampire-ish, I kind of got confused. So I'm curious, are they going to
Did you
keep with
you
that
didn't play
story?
7 though, right? Because
No, I
there was
never
a
played
lot
7.
going on in 7 to
Yeah,
where it explained the origins of Umbrella.
that's pretty rad. Like, because this is one of the few franchises where you can go from Resident Evil 1 to current, and there is some ties in the lore all the way through, but they definitely have diverged over the years. So
Yeah, like
I'm
6 was bizarre. Um like it's it's very actiony. It took or
okay.
not 6. 6 was bizarre, but 5 was bizarre. 5, like, you had 4, which was kind of actiony over the shoulder. 5 was like all action, right? It was almost like Resident Evil, a Tomb Raider and Resident Evil clothing. Um, Resident Evil 6 was a different beast entirely. It was almost like an arcade shooter to a degree.
Oh, wild. Okay.
Um, and it was 2-player. I played through all of that with a friend of mine last year, or the year before. And it it was cheesy as hell, but we had fun playing it together. Single player, I probably would have been bored out of my mind, but because I was playing with a good friend of mine, we had a great time. And it added to the lore in ways that I was surprised and didn't expect. But yeah, like that's kind of what I hope to get out of most Resident Evils is expand the world in a way the player cares about.
Right.
And this, to a degree, like it has a callback to one of the previous Resident Evils. I don't remember which, because the mom was a journalist in one of the previous games.
Okay.
Um, so or something like that. She was a name in one of the previous games. I think it was a Revelations game, actually, which I've not played.
That's interesting. And like I guess 7 and 8 are definitely callbacks to the earlier ones. Still a lot of action, but there was puzzles in 7 and 8, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
7 was quite puzzle oriented, a lot of, nervous exploration kind of thing. Whereas 8 was, gun everything down pretty much. Kill it all. Running away is not always the best option in 8.
Okay. And like when I look at the trailer, the graphics are stellar. Capcom's really nailed a cadence with their RE engine for all their games lately. This is the same engine that Monster Hunter Wilds uses. All the recent Resident Evil remakes are on this thing. The models look great. I know there's some earlier Resident Evil games where there was a bit of I felt like uncanny valley with some of the models, but the last few have just looked amazing. Like their graphic
Yeah.
powerhouses. Capcom really is in a golden age. I mean, the only miss I think for Capcom recently is Dragon Dogma 2. I did not like that game, but it looked nice. It looked real pretty. But everything else they've been releasing from Street Fighter to Resident Evil has been fantastic. So I know this is one that's going to probably hit really well. So yeah,
Yeah. And
that's awesome.
I think it's cool with the world they've been building over the years that they're pulling from a character who started in one of the offshoot games to create one of the mainline games. It's interesting to me.
That's pretty cool. So that's coming out. That's this year, right?
Is it this year or was it February?
Oh, February, next spring. That makes sense. But yeah, that's
Let
very
me
soon, months
see.
away. Um, was next? Next up was Cult of the Lamb is getting a paid DLC called Woolhaven. Cult of the Lamb, I only first played it this year. I saw it when it first came out a couple years ago. It looked cute. It's kind of like there's a Zelda roguelike dungeon crawling aspect to it, but then it's also got a what do you call it? A town building simulation as you're bringing cult members to your
Yeah.
town and making them work the farms and finding places for them to sleep, and then you make them do profane rituals to gain, you know, I don't even what whatever the spiritual currency is to unlock more things for your town. So it's a town building simulator, and then you have to dive into a Zelda style dungeons, and they are procedural. They're randomly generated, and it's got bosses. The original game has, I want to say, 4 dungeons and 4 main bosses. And then there's been a few other DLC packs since release that have added small things. The one DLC, I think, was it 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, added, well, they're getting horny. That was the big update, but that unlocked a bunch of different things. It's pretty interesting. But this one, Woolhaven, is adding 2 new dungeons, 2 new major bosses, a bunch of new enemies, and a bunch of really rad-looking weapons and a lot of cool items and stuff. It really expands on the game. Cult of the Lamb is actually a very awesome game, and it's one I wish I played when it first came out. What's your experience with Cult of the Lamb?
I've played about 3 or 4 hours of it. I thought it was super cute, really fun. Um, but it wasn't enough to pull me at the time, and I haven't made time to go back to it. I so many roguelikes, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, when they're procedural and there's really no end game to these things, you could spend as much time as you want with them, right?
My brother spent 12 years with Binding of Isaac.
12 years. Gosh. I mean, there's a lot there, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
stuff to unlock. The thing with Cult of the Lamb, what really got me actually this year, one of the DLCs added local co-op. You can play with friends. So I was playing with my daughter, and playing this with
Fun.
2 players is pretty rad because when you enter certain areas of the dungeon, it pops up new weapons. So you have to decide, who wants the weapon, who wants the magic spell, right? Interesting dynamic there. It's really cute. It's really cute, really fun. It's not as maybe in depth as I probably wanted from the Zelda dungeon exploration kind of bit. They're fairly short runs, but it is a roguelike or road-like. So when you're going through, it's different every time for the most part. But the building up of your campsite with your cult is a lot more engaging than I thought it would be. So it's decent. I don't know if I would buy Woolhaven at launch. I would probably want to finish the base game stuff first, or at least kind of get through the 4 stages. But yeah,
Yeah.
overall, pretty interesting looking trailer.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to add some cool ideas, and it looked fun. And I mean, that's what you want out of a DLC.
Yeah, exactly.
At first, I thought it was going to be a sequel, and I was like, I didn't know it sold well enough to make a second one. But I don't know what the sales numbers look like for Cult of the Lamb.
It's high. Hold on, because this is from the publisher's Devolver Digital, and this is one of their like standout games in terms of sales. It was. Give me one sec here.
Oh wow, 4.5 million copies worldwide as of October last year.
That's
So they're
pretty
probably past
awesome.
5 million at this point. Okay, that's my bad.
Yeah, and like
It could have been a sequel, and it would have been fine.
no, for sure. And like this is again Devolver Digital kind of their bread and butter is these indie titles, right? They pick up in indie studios and publish their games, and I know they've been having some issues with like funds right lately. Like the game market is not what it was 5 years ago. It's really difficult these days. But they still have some franchises under their umbrella that are doing killer, and Cult of the Lamb is one of the ones that keep selling, right? This is one of those games where new DLC comes out, base game goes on sale, they get a bunch of new players checking it out, and like it's awesome. So it's pretty solid. Okay.
Yeah.
Next up was a game. This one is probably my game of the show, I guess, from opening night live, and it wasn't even in the main show. It was in the pre-show, and that's Bubsy 4D, which is the sequel, 20 years later, of Bubsy 3D for the PlayStation. One of history's worst retro games, probably. Did you beat Bubsy 3D? I know you played a whole bunch of it.
I streamed it actually last year for the 2 hours required for my Wheel of Pain.
All right, it's a Wheel of Pain game.
I got pretty far in that 2 hours, and then I got annoyed when my stream just died, but it died at around like an hour and 59 minutes. So I was like, well, I guess. But I know
Close
Chard
enough.
was like, I thought, fuck this game, I'm out, which I didn't. I was starting to get annoyed with it at that point, but I wasn't done with it by any means. I have never beaten it. That 2 hour window that I played it is probably the furthest I've ever gotten. And I used to have this on
Okay.
PlayStation back in the day.
Oh, you own this one?
I got this one at a freaking electronics boutique once upon a time, the
Nice.
Ontario Mills Mall.
That's funny. Yeah, this game, Bubsy 3D is it was awful for so many reasons. I didn't like it for the graphical style. I don't think this thing even knew what textures were. The fog was rivaled the N64. It was so bad. The difficulty and the cheapness of the difficulty, where like enemies from half across the map would shoot at you and hit you, and there's just no way to dodge. But I think for me, it was
Yeah.
the tank controls which really screwed it up. It had tank controls, no analog controls, and that made this game horrible to control. It's
In
funny
the
because
game's defense, it came out well before analog was a thing on the PlayStation. So they were doing the best
yeah,
with what they could with a basic PlayStation controller. It
it was
wasn't great. They probably could have been fine tuned, but
yeah,
it's like if you play other games that exist in 3D, like Jumping Jack or Jumping Flash was another one. And the controls in that are also really bizarre. And that one was first person.
yeah. But
And it's similar thing.
you got games like Medieval and Spyro, and there's other games on the PlayStation that had tank controls that were just fine, right? Like I think it needed work. It's not a good game. I won't defend it, but it's very much a meme, and
Yeah.
it's funny that it's getting a sequel. So it's being created by the developer is Falbaz, which is an indie team. They made a few games, but the big highlight for them was Demon's Turf, which came out in 2021, which is a 3D cartoonish platformer that is apparently well liked. I had never heard of it, but after watching Demon's Turf's trailers, it actually looks like a pretty solid 3D platformer. So I can see
Hmm.
why they were tapped by Atari to make this. The Atari as it exists today is not, of course, the original Atari from the 2600 era that I grew up with, but the
Yeah.
Atari entity has been scooping up all the properties they used to be linked to or used to compete with, right? So they're buying up all these different IPs. So they have a claim in what Acclaim was eventually bought out as. So they own the Bubsy IP. And much like Yar's Revenge and a few other titles they've been releasing over the last couple of years, Atari has been leaning on indie developers to reimagine their properties. So I can see why they went to Falbaz to make a new Bubsy. And I think it's rad that the studio is looking at the history, the legacy, if you can call it, of Bubsy 3D and how much of a joke it is. And they're leaning heavily into that joke with this new game.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
It definitely looks like they're trying to modernize Bubsy while still trying to poke fun a little at the
Yeah.
old Bubsy.
Yeah.
And it definitely seems like the character is very self-aware of how much of a joke he was. And honestly, I actually kind of dig his redesign. I like his little like 80s style blazer that he's got with his exclamation point still on his shirt in the middle.
Yeah. I think it looks like a solid title. One sec here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think the soundtrack was good. It has the voice work. It has unlockable costumes, including one that is based off the old PS1 game, which I think is what you want. It is funny because the limited run games is in, I think, September, the first week of September, they're releasing a Bubsy compilation. I will never buy it, but it's neat that exists. Where they took
Yeah,
all the versions of Bubsy and put it in one package. But they actually, in that one, they actually added analog controls to Bubsy 3D and they polished it up. They remastered it. I was watching Giant Bomb play it today, and apparently it is better, but still horrible. I don't know. But yeah,
yeah, I'm sure. Like there's only so much you can polish that turd.
yeah, exactly. So, but still, I think when we say that Open Night Live was kind of dry, uh, when I say Bubsy 4D was my highlight of the show, maybe that's why. Because everything else
Yeah,
I liked from the show I had heard of beforehand, so it's kind of wasn't
it
exciting. This was a complete surprise to me out of left field.
it was also a lot of samey kind of looking or feeling stuff that was
Yes.
shown in opening night. And I was expecting a wider array of things, and it was all like two or three categories, and I was not excited.
Yeah. So moving on, I guess the next announcement was not a part of opening it live. This is where Nintendo, like they've been doing for the last little while, that while they have, I think, games playable at Gamescom, they didn't take place in a part in Keighley's show, but they had their own direct exclusively on Kirby Air Riders for the Switch 2, which they first announced this direct, and they said it would be 45 minutes long. So you can see when I heard that Team Cherry was going to do something with Silksong, I thought it would be at least 5-10 minutes, because here's Nintendo giving you 45 minutes of Air Riders. And when I first heard that announcement, I'm like, oh, well, maybe it's Air Riders, but they'll talk about the original Air Riders on the GameCube for a little bit. But no, it's 45-minute Sakurai, the creator, deep diving on everything about Air Riders, breaking down the entire game. Like he even says after the 45 minutes, I hope this deep dive has got you excited for the game, as if he knows this game is probably too similar to Mario Kart for people to care. So did you play Air Riders at all on the GameCube or no?
I played it like maybe 3 or 4 rounds back in the day,
Yeah.
and I just didn't care.
That's 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 pretty much my take. I didn't really give a crap. I didn't care.
I was
It's
like, my
it's not
thought
Mario Kart.
process, which I'm sure people are having that same thought process now, was why when Mario Kart already exists on this platform?
Yeah. So
Like,
I
I would
was
understand if it were like a release title with Mario Kart 2 years out or something.
yes.
Fine. But when Mario Kart is the flagship game for release, and then you're like, and also Kirby Air Riders 3 months later. What?
Like, yeah, this is coming out in November. It's coming out in a couple of months.
Okay, so
It's
5-6 months later. It's still ridiculous. I
is
don't.
very close. Yeah. So when I looked at
I
that, because I'm trying to
watched
figure out why people like the original Air Riders on GameCube, because I didn't care for it either. I also did not like GameCube Mario Kart, to be fair. But anyway,
me
um,
either.
the original only had 9 tracks, and Kirby was the main character, and you could unlock, I think, 2 other characters. So it's a very limited game, and it was only one button gameplay. It was meant to be a very simplistic
Yeah.
racing game that anybody could pick up and play. So where I think people really liked it though was the City Trials mode, which is interesting and it is unique from what Mario Kart offers. It's a mode where there's an open map, and the opening of the map you have to drive around the city and pick up various power-ups to upgrade your vehicle, and then you have a proper race or whatever. And that seems to be the highlight of what they're doing in Kirby Air Riders on the Switch 2, but much more expansive. There's a whole lot of other characters, a whole bunch of carts. There are stats. There's like a dozen stats for upgrading your vehicle. It's wild, from speed and weight to flying to everything. So it's definitely much more, I dare say, complicated than Mario Kart in terms of stats. And then the big highlight, is, of course, is they add a second button. So it's 2-button gameplay now, I guess. I don't know. I don't, it's not for me, but I can see why fans of Kirby and the original would eat this stuff up and would love this game. But it
It's
does feel weird.
you know what's funny is I was watching the trailer for about 15 minutes, right? About 5 minutes in, I was like, okay, I get it. This actually seems kind of cool. 5 minutes later, I was like, you kind of lost me a little. Shouldn't have explained it so much.
Well,
And then another
it's
5 minutes later, I was kind of somewhere in the middle, like, okay, I get it. It looks neat, but it just looks too simplistic and hyper focused on weird aspects.
yeah, like the city trials mode where you're going around picking up scooping up all the food to give you stats it's interesting, but I don't think for me. What I love though is that Sakurai, the creator of this, he's most famous probably for Smash Brothers, and like in Smash Brothers, every new character he would do this style of Nintendo Direct, where just him
Mhm.
at a desk with a controller, sometimes two, and he would deep dive on the character to just show you everything, every nuance and aspect of that character. He did that for Kirby Air Riders. Like he treats this game with a lot of respect, more than more than I thought it deserved, and that's fine. But like he starts off sighing in the direct, saying, "Why are games so hard to make?" Like, it's just funny to me that that's the attitude he's taking with this, because I know people have been like looking at the Switch too, and a lot of people love Smash Ultimate. Smash Ultimate's a fantastic fighting game if you're into that style of fighting game. And I know people are rabid for another one, a sequel or re-release with more everything. It's just not going to happen, right? Smash Ultimate is is so packed, so full of stuff. It's like a Mario Kart situation, right? Where Mario Kart World, how do you go from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe to Mario Kart World without losing things? And I think people can see that they lost some stuff from the other Mario Kart game. It'd be the same thing with Smash. So I don't know if we're getting Smash this generation, or if we do, it's not going to be leased for a couple of years. But I bet you that Nintendo probably went to Sakurai and said, "Hey, please make another Smash Brothers for us. Make us money." And he said, "Nope, not until you give me Kirby." Because this is like one of his passion projects, I guess. And you can see his passion when he walks through it for 45 fucking
I
minutes. It's just crazy.
I wonder if that's how it kind of went, because I know Nintendo. I saw an article that said Nintendo asked him to make Kirby Air Riders. So I wonder if
Really?
he went to them and said, "I need a break from Smash Brothers. Give me something Kirby."
Right.
And they said, "Okay, Kirby Air Riders."
It's funny
Like,
because there's no shortage of Kirby games, right? Like we even had
no,
a platforming Kirby a couple years ago. Was it Forgotten Land? I think it was, which she didn't have anything to do with, if I remember right. But it's funny.
there was Forgotten Lands, and then there was also a 2D side-scrolling one that came out like a year later.
Yes, like there's been more Kirby games in the last 10 years than Mario games. I think like it's pretty
Oh
wild.
yeah,
And I'm not hating on Kirby. I like a lot of those Kirby games, right? Even if I bitch about the NES one, I still like that one. And the SNES one's decent. Like there's a lot of great Kirby games. It's too close to Mario Kart. Like it's just weird that it's so close to Mario Kart. So I don't know.
yeah. Like it very much seems like something that should have been released either at launch and release Mario Kart at least 6 months later,
Yes.
or give people time to get tired of Mario Kart and then give them a new kart style racer
Yeah.
a year or two from now.
Yeah. This will be a great next year game. Like
Yeah,
they have other stuff coming out this year, right? Like Metroid's not far off from now, right? That's supposed to be the end of this year. So there's other games. They just had Donkey Kong Bonanza. So it's not like Nintendo hasn't been pushing out games. And there's also third party stuff. It's a weird to release this in November. But hey, for fans of the Kirby, this is for them for sure. Next up is Silent Hill F, and this is not from Blooper Team, who did that Silent Hill remake, which is well loved. This is by Konami themselves, and it's definitely
Hmm.
a different take on it. I think you marked down this one that you're interested in this one. What was pulling you on this one?
yeah. So I wanted to talk about this one just because I'm a little confused by some things. Um, it's I don't exactly understand what's happening with this because it seems like it takes place in Japan and it's a very Japanese looking Silent Hill. So I'm not sure if they're trying to rebrand Silent Hill as like these events can occur in other countries around the world, even if it's not necessarily at Silent Hill. Maybe it's
Right.
spreading or something, but it's I'm so used to it being in the Rust Belt of the United States that anywhere else doesn't really click with me. So I'm curious to see how they handle this. It does look interesting that they're incorporating monster stylings from Japan, which is really neat. Like they get to mix it up in new ways. I
Right.
appreciate that. I'm just really confused as to how.
Yeah. So like lore wise, what is there even a connection to Silent Hill in North America? Like you're right. That is interesting because like
Yeah.
all the other prior games were in and around Silent Hill, the town, right?
Yeah. So I'm wondering if it's like you said, is there an actual like lore connection to the original Silent Hills? Or is this just like an anthology sort of entry, like what if in Japan instead? And it
Right.
just disregards everything else, which is fine if that's what happens. I just wish they had explained that already.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this turns out. I think from I saw early press looks at the game are pretty positive. I'm just wondering when this started development because I felt like it was almost a dead franchise, right? From Konami. Konami's been very quiet on games for a long time, and they've only just now started to kind of work with other development teams to make games with their IP. And the success with the remake of Silent Hill by Blooper Team is pretty awesome. Was Silent Hill F before Blooper Team was working on the remake, or is this after Konami looked at the success of what a team did with their property and said, "Hey, why don't we just get a team to do it ourselves?" So I'm curious. Or was this another game, a brand new game, and they just felt like, well, let's lean into the existing IP with Silent Hill and slap that on there, and it's kind of like a side game, a side story to it. So I'm kind of
Well,
curious how it ties back.
based on a quick Googling, it looks like Silent Hill 2 remake began development in 2019.
Oh, really?
Silent Hill F began development in February of 2021. So it's sounding like maybe they saw what Bloober Team was doing and were like, okay, this is going to be hot. We need to do something with that to strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah,
They're going to be like, people are going to want more. They're not going to just want a remake. They're going to want
right.
something else.
That's true. Interesting. Well, it comes out September
And
25th, so it's only a few weeks away too.
it kind of makes sense. Like if Konami is developing it in house, they probably had to like put together a new team, and this team probably thought, well, we don't know anything about the Rust Belt of the United States, so how about we do it in Japan? We know Japan. We know our creepy stories.
It's set here. It's set in 1960s fictional town of, I'm not going to try and pronounce that, but it is Japan. So yeah, Konami
Where
felt the
does
series had been overly westernized. I mean, it takes place in the West, and I guess they want a different spin on it. The developer is Neo Bards Entertainment. Who's that? It might be another third party studio. Konami's been so weird in games. There was a while where they weren't making anything brand new. They were literally just doing pachinko. It's a
yeah,
self-funded independent Taiwanese game developer founded in 2017. So, but it's a Taiwan-based studio instead of Bloober Team. Interesting. Well, it's a couple weeks away. It looks hot. It looks really interesting. I wish I was more into horror
yeah.
games like you and Chart are. Like it's hard for me to
Well,
get into these games.
I'm weird because I like a good horror game, but I'm also a scaredy cat. So, I only
Yeah.
have so much bandwidth for horror games kind of per year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll play Phasmo like twice a year and then I'm good. I don't need any more than that. All right.
And man, I don't know if I've got it in me for Silent Hill F.
I think like a lot of games announced, I think as much as I have an issue with FOMO, I think there's a number of these games I can wait for a sale because a lot of these games
But
will go on sale.
I did also
Um,
want to talk about this because I felt like Chard would be sad if we didn't at least touch on it.
yeah, he's gonna be broke this fall. There's at least 3 games coming out this fall that I know he wants at some point, right? Like this and Chronos and Hell's Us. There's a bunch of horror games in September, October. It's wild this year. Like we had, like I said at the beginning of the episode, we had a stellar 2025 spring. Like there were so many great releases at the beginning of the year. I thought Game of the Year was a lock with Expedition 33 and Blueprints and whatnot. But man, there's still like a dozen titles coming out for the last half of this year that could be potentially Game of the Year contenders. It's crazy. Okay,
Yeah.
moving on, I guess, to another one. When they said the name Ron Gilbert, I'm like, that sounds familiar. It's a name that I know Sinister knows very well. It's the guy who created Monkey Island, which is LucasArts adventure. Is adventure point and click game, right? I did play the
Yeah.
original one, uh, but what got announced is Death by Scrolling, which is anything but an adventure point and click. It's a vertical scrolling roguelite, I think is how they describe it.
Yeah.
What's your take on this one?
It looks fun.
Okay.
It looks like a callback to those old vertical shmups, stuff like
Ninja.
no, not well, actually a little bit like Ninja, but Ninja didn't auto scroll, right?
Didn't it?
This is an
No?
auto scroller.
Okay.
Ninja, like there were a couple of auto scroller levels in Ninja, but most of the game was you advance at your own pace. Um, in this, it's very much like constantly moving. It reminds me of stuff like King's Knight on the NES, and um, there was another one. There was a pinball RPG, I think, on the NES,
Oh,
and it
I like
it
that one.
reminds me of that a little bit too.
Really?
And I'm interested to see this style as a
Okay.
roguelite. I think it could be fun. It's gonna be stressful, and that I think that's the point. And like that's one of the things right now is what new interesting ways can we make roguelites, right? I feel like
Yeah.
the deck building roguelite has been done to death at this point. I loved Slay the Spire. I don't touch any others.
I mean, the only one I really play these days is Vampire Survivors, and even that one I haven't touched in months, really.
Oh, I'm talking specifically about the card builder ones.
Oh, the card
Like
ones? Yeah.
I'll still sometimes go back and play Isaac, or I do still go back and play Slay the Spire. Um Dead Cells from time to time. Like I
Right.
like going back to these things and I'll spend a week or two in them. But yeah, like this looks like a new interesting spin on it
Yeah.
that definitely looks more about the skill than the luck, and
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. I like that kind of thing. I think this will be fun. It also, like, the art style is really really vibrant, and I like that. It reminds me of the NES and Master System era, but like higher fidelity.
I just from Ron Gilbert is weird to me. Like dropping that name, I want to know what his involvement is because when I think of him, I'm thinking of Monkey Island, which was more known for the humor and for the characters and the story, not necessarily roguelikes and vertical scrolling and action. So I'm curious what his involvement actually is with this game. And I mean, maybe he just wanted to make a fun game and not necessarily a narrative game. So I'm kind of curious to see how this turns out. I'm interested in this one, but I have to see reviews before I touch it, I think.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, based on what I saw, it looks like a great rollback that should be fun. And, if it's good, it'll kill a lot of time. Like, it'll just be like, this looks like a really good one more run kind of game.
And that's what I've been trying to avoid this year because last year I beat like nothing. So this year I was really trying to go through games and actually sit and beat games. I say this after having put 60 hours into Warframe for the last month. But besides that, I had blueprints and I had, anyway, there's just the endless games I'm trying to avoid the endless games really hard this year. So that's another reason why I've kind of stepped away from Vampire Survivors and other roguelikes.
I
But it
do
looks
find
interesting.
that I have more appreciation these days for a roguelite that has an end goal
Right.
where you can say, okay, I finished the main narrative. I can set this down. And
Have
there's a lot of them that don't really do that. And there's a handful that do. But unfortunately, sometimes those handful that do, it feels unfulfilling when you get to that point. I had that issue with Rogue Legacy too.
Okay. Yeah, I fell off of that one too. I liked it, but I didn't feel like I wanted to finish it. I didn't I saw the end goal and I'm like, I think there's just too much grind between the runs to get there, I think. Not on
Yeah.
not on our list, but a game that came out in early access at the beginning of the year and is now 1.0 dropped this week as well. They shadow dropped it is Rogue Prince of Persia, which is made by Evil Empire. That's the studio that originally made Dead Cells. They eventually sold Dead Cells to another studio to finish it, but Evil Empire's been working on Rogue Prince of Persia, which is similar platformy roguelike type of game. And I've heard like no press on the game whatsoever. I don't know if that's because it was in early access at the beginning of the year, or maybe folks just don't want to give the attention with everything else going on. But I've heard positive things about that one. Have you seen the trailers for that one?
No, I
Yeah.
don't know anything about this game.
We'll have to take a look maybe in a future episode. I definitely want to play Rogue Prince of Persia. I heard it's not Dead Cells, and I don't think it's ever going to be like Dead Cells. But Dead Cells also had the benefit of years of updates being added to it. But
Yeah.
it, but I've heard the controls are on point with in terms of the parkour and then the action and all the baddies to kill, and it's supposed to be pretty good. So it's interesting. Um, Next up, real quick, I had to talk about it. So this year in was it February? I think it came out. We had Monster Hunter Wilds, and that was supposed to be, or at least I thought it would be, my game this year. I put 200 hours into Monster Hunter World when that came out. I put at least 100 hours into Monster Hunter. What's it called? It was the Switch one.
Wilds.
Not Wilds. Before Wilds, there was Rise. Monster Hunter
Oh,
Rise was the Switch one. It eventually got a PC release. I put a lot into those Monster Hunter games. They're both fantastic. But Monster Hunter World, there's just so much to do. So when Wilds got announced and they were improving combat, they're adding mounts, I was all in. And I liked Monster Hunter Wilds when it came out, but I kind of like beat it in terms of like I beat all this of the story stuff, which is short, but then I also beat every monster in the game within 60 hours, which is, I got my money's worth in
That's a
60
lot of
hours.
game.
Yeah, but it's not 200 hours. And I know when I finally dived into World, there had been some updates, like post-release stuff. So I've kind of been keeping an eye on Wild to see what's new with Wild. And there's been some post-game stuff, but it's like one fight here. They do an updated version, a harder version of one monster there, but it's nothing really expansive. Like it's nothing really substantial. I know there's going to be an expansion pack probably in a year or so. That's what they've been doing, and that's great. I'll look forward to that. But there hasn't been much otherwise. Let me pull that screen. But anyway, during this show,
I
they had it. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just I feel like Monster Hunter is at the point where they just need to develop a huge Monster Hunter MMO and just keep that alive for years, because it's
Yeah,
it's to start from scratch every time is it's a lot. Like when you've already got the gameplay mechanics built into the game, and all you need to do is maybe add a new type of weapons or armor or new monsters, new regions.
yeah,
Like that feels like a lot easier to do than build a whole game again from the ground up. And you only get to bring in X percentage of the monsters because you only have so much development time. And you also want to have new monsters, and you have to balance that. It's a lot. It's like The Sims, right? It's
right. Well,
to a
even
degree,
EA
there's
said
so
there'd be no
much.
sequel to The Sims because they put too much money into or much time into the current Sims, and it's not fair to the player base. That's pretty much what EA said. So if
That,
EA,
and the player base has put so much money into the current Sims.
yes,
So it seems like what would make more sense is to, like maybe push your expansions and try to set some of that money aside for actual game updates that improve the fidelity and
yeah,
quality of life and things like that.
yeah. And the thing with Wild is specifically the new stuff was it is an open world map, but effectively it still feels like you go to hub the town, you get a quest, and then you go to the map. And the way they did it this time with the mounts, it trivializes the hunt itself. Like it autopilots. It literally your chocobo thing or your lizard creature will actually track to the monster automatically, and which is quality of life. But it really trivializes finding the monster. So and the time to get to the monster and kill it and get back is minutes, where it used to be like 20, 30 hard battles, even 40 minutes to kill a monster
Yeah.
in World and Rise. Well, Rise was shorter, but World and the old games. In Wilds, you can finish a hunt in like 10 minutes. So that's why you can just breeze through the hunts. And like part of the game with this, the loop is kill monsters, get parts, make new armor, repeat, right? And that's fun. I
Yeah.
like doing that. But I was getting new armor sets from like they drop a new monster and I could grind out the set pieces within an hour or two. And then I'm done. And like, okay, when's the next update? Right? Like this is something where you're right. Maybe not MMO, but definitely a games as a service type of thing. And I thought I would never ask for games as a service, but for Wild it would work, right? Just put the money and development time into this, make this your 10-year game, and just add new stuff to it over time. And they,
Yeah. I don't
you know,
I'm on the same page with you. I'm not usually like, oh yeah, games as a service, but sometimes it makes sense.
mhm,
And I feel like for what Monster Hunter tends to become, it makes sense.
right. So the update in this show, they're doing a collaboration, much like World. They're doing a collaboration with the Final Fantasy 14 folks. The one in World was pretty awesome. They brought uh, Behemoth as a monster in World, and it was really well done. In this one, in the collaboration, they're bringing Omega Weapon, or one of the Omega Weapons, into Monster Hunter World. That's pretty rad. They're also bringing Chocobos. I slipped up and called the mountain wild a Chocobo because that's what you do, because you're riding around on a two-legged lizard thing with feathers. So it was pretty
Yeah.
basically Chocobos already, but now you can officially get one. And these updates are free. So I've uninstalled my Wilds for the last few months. None of the recent updates brought me back. I might reinstall the game just to get my Chocobo and then call it done. That will bring me back. Like, because World had some crazy collaborations too. World had Witcher 3 collaboration where you can, I think it was Ciri you unlock in that one. And it brought one of the monsters from Witcher 3 into World. So that was really interesting. So they're
Didn't
known for their collabs. I mean, they just released Akuma in Wilds for a brief period, and I missed Akuma. But everything else about the game was
didn't
kind of like
World
in Wilds.
also have no no no,
Mhm.
I didn't World also have a crossover with Horizon?
Was it Horizon 2 as well? Wouldn't surprise
I think
me.
so.
Yeah. Like I know that, and they've also done. They also did Street Fighter One for World. They also did a Mega Man collab as well. So they're known for their collabs, and they're fun. Like they're definitely completely out of left field with the lore and stuff of Monster Hunter, but they're fun. But like Wilds has had performance issues and other issues that have been slowly being fixed over time. But I just I fell so hard off of Wilds, and again, 60 hours. I got my money's worth. I have nothing to complain about. But for what I thought would be my game of the year, I was more excited to play Blueprints after that, which is kind of interesting. The other flip side of this is Final Fantasy 14. The MMO is also getting some Monster Hunter stuff. What was it? They're bringing the lizard mount from Wild into Final Fantasy 14, and I forget what the other thing was. I don't know. Arkfeld, which is like the marquee monster of Wild is Arkfeld. Very cool monster. They're going to bring that as a fight in Final Fantasy 14. The crossovers are cool. And I have not played
Are
14 in a long
these
time, but
permanent crossovers or temporary?
the crossovers in Monster Hunter Wilds are usually you have to play it during the event, otherwise you miss out. But they sometimes will repeat events. But the
Hmm.
licensed ones I don't recall. I think you could still do Behemoth and World if I'm not wrong, but some of them are more limited. Final Fantasy 14, I don't know if it's going to be a permanent fight. Because they had a Near Automata raid in Final Fantasy 14, if I recall correctly, and I think that's still around. So
Yeah,
it'd
but
be a
Square
shame
owns that
to
one.
temporarily do it. That's true. Yeah, these are two different
It
studios,
would like
Capcom and Square.
that's a thing too. Is in MMOs, it's notoriously time consuming to really come up with an interesting
Right.
and balanced boss fight. And
Right.
so to remove that content later, it seems like it would suck.
Yeah, I'll have to see if it's temporary or permanent. I would think it's probably permanent. It would make sense to be. But licensed crossovers are also why some games don't get, longer shelf lives or don't get re-releases, right? Like Mortal Kombat 9, one of the reasons why it's not being re-released is because it has several licensed crossover characters that they can't take out and they can't get the license renewed for. So sometimes it sucks to
Hmm.
do this, right? What time we got here? Gosh, all right. World of Warcraft Midnight. I have not played WoW in a long time. I'm always continually surprised it's still going, but hey, people like it. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I haven't played it in a long time either, so I have not been following the development of Warcraft in years. Um, honestly, there was it's the Burning Legion arc or something like that. I have no idea what happened with that stuff. The last expansion I played was Warlords of Draenor, so it's been a while. I think I'm like 4 behind now, maybe 5.
I think more than
But
that, yeah.
it was wild to me that now they're like planning them as trilogy arcs,
I think
and
it's
I find that
smaller too.
interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, it also sounds like the game expansions have been coming out more frequently. It sounds like they've got a cycle that they work with where, you get the expansion, patch 1, patch 2, patch 3, a joining patch that's only temporary, expansion. It sounds like they've worked it down to a science. Whereas, back in the day, the original Warcraft or World of Warcraft got like 12 or 14 patches or something.
Oh yeah.
And then they released the first expansion, which was Burning Crusade. And I think that one had 4 or 5 patches before they released Lich King. And Lich King is where they started to really just do the 3 major patch thing. Um, but yeah, it sounds like I can't believe she said because I watched the presentation on opening night, and she's I don't remember her name, the new director. She said they've got 18 expansions now, or 12 expansions. It was 12 expansions.
Well, because this came
And that
out,
was just wild.
the beta was 2006, I want to say. So I mean, this game has been
Nope,
going
the
on
original
for
game came out in November or December 2004.
for so like over 20 years, right? Like
Yeah.
this is wildly a shelf life. What was neat to me is that they're adding housing, which is like a feature that almost every MMO already has by
It
now, but WoW never had it until as they're getting it now.
it was promised back before Lich King.
Yeah. Right. But it also goes back to, like you said, right? They used to do really big expansions that would take multiple years to build and then come out. And a lot of MMOs have been breaking those up. Elder Scrolls Online is one I played quite a bit, and they usually do one expansion and then they do like a dungeon follow up, kind of midpoint expansion to it. Guild Wars 2 recently swapped to a small expansion model where they're doing 3 updates together to form an expansion. They just did one of those. They're doing it again. Final Fantasy 14 I used to rag on them all the time for their patch quests. You can always tell the in between expansion content. They'd release an expansion and there'd be patches before they have another mid update. So breaking it up seems to be the norm for these games to keep players coming back. Like even Warframe does that now. So I'm interested to see what they do with it. But why I wanted on this list was funny to me is they didn't show any gameplay. I mean, sure, we all know
No.
what WoW looks like nowadays, but they didn't show any gameplay in Open Live presentation. It was a 2-minute cinematic trailer, and I had to go look it up. Somebody had mentioned that the what the cost was for ads on Opening It Live, because again, show's not free, costs money, got to make money. It costs for a 30-second ad. It is the equivalent of $147,000 US, up to 350,000 USD for a 2-minute ad. So Blizzard paid 3,500 grand for this to show off a cinematic trailer. That's crazy to me.
Wow.
Like who are they trying to get to buy this? Like has there been like people who've left and this is to draw them back? Are people going to be excited to just see a cinematic trailer? Like who is this ad for? It seems kind of out of place to me.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't even realize it was an ad. I thought it was just
It's just cinematic, right?
I
And
mean,
they're
I guess,
cool.
yeah, it makes sense. They
Yeah.
kind of need to pay for their time on the stage. But I mean, that's always kind of been the big reveal for Warcraft, though, is the trailer, right?
Yeah.
But this one, it was interesting. It drew me in enough to where I wanted to talk about it today. But
Right.
it wasn't Burning Crusade interesting. It wasn't You Are Not Prepared, you know.
Yeah, like I picked this on Fantasy Critic, and I think the expected points was like 2. So like they're not expecting much. In terms of expansion hype, it does feel a little bit low right now for WoW players. But if you're playing WoW in 2025, you're already kind of a diehard, you're already locked in. So like again, who is this ad for? Existing players to get them excited because they're going to buy it anyway? Was it for getting players to come back to WoW after missing an expansion? Like who was it for? And I just feel like they should have showed off maybe some of the features of this. And I know they're going to. They probably already have on the website and other things. I know Blizzard does fireside chats occasionally, but it just feels weird to have this big gaming trade show and all you show is a very cool cinematic, but just a cinematic. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. I also didn't know who any of the characters were in the opening trailer.
Oh yeah.
As someone who hasn't played in a while, I'm sure I would know their names if they had said any of them.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't know who these 2 blood elves are. And then the big giant woman came out, and I was like, is that Sylvanas? I can't tell because last time I played, she was all polygons, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think Sylvanas was the bad guy in the last expansion, if I'm not wrong. I mean, I'm out of date as well. They're definitely blood elves. I know they're adding a new underground elf race, which again, Warcraft lore has always been cool, but not cool enough for me to pay a monthly fee and go back. Like the last time I tried playing WoW was when they released Classic, as just kind of to bring old players back, and I played Classic for a little bit. I did my 1-0 character run from was it the Dark Elf tree to Iron Forge? Died a bunch of times in the way, and I'm like, that's good. That's my nostalgia. I'm done. Uninstalled, unsubbed.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to do. That's my nostalgia for WoW. So yeah, MMOs are wild. I'm glad it's still going for people who like it. I mean, it's the big one from the last 20 years, right? There's been other MMOs, but nothing's been quite like WoW in terms of success.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Want to do a couple more?
Yeah, we could do a couple more.
Okay. Next one was, how do you feel about Lego games, Wolf? Lego Batman Legacy of the Dark Knight. Do you still like these?
Okay. Not really.
No?
The first time I played one, I was like, this is neat, but I got bored before I was done with it. because the gameplay loop was too simplistic for my liking.
Yeah.
The only one I've truly enjoyed, and I didn't finish that one either, was Lego City Undercover.
Okay.
And I liked that that one was a big open world game where it was, sort of like GTA, but the opposite.
Yeah. So I mean, they've definitely changed some over the years, but Lego games are still the same loop, right? You're still like dozens and dozens of characters, many hidden characters. They all have something unique about them. You're going around collecting studs. You're finding gold bricks. You find the red bricks for secrets. It's the same loop, and it's been that way since the beginning. They've slowly added other things like open world, like you mentioned, undercover. I did play the Marvel Avengers one, and that was neat because you drop from the helicarrier and you land and you're in an open environment. It was really rad. But it's the same loop, right? So when I saw the Lego trailer for Batman, I like the Lego Batman movie that came out recently with Will Arnett. I thought that was pretty rad. I saw the voice cast for this game. Bane is in it. They got Matt Berry to play Bane, which I think is
Yeah.
hysterical, which is awesome. Originally, I thought this was based on the Nolan films, but it's not. I saw a clarification that this is it's an original Batman story, but they're paying homage to a bunch of different Batman properties. So the Nolan films,
Yeah.
the Burton movies, the comics, the cartoons, apparently Easter eggs from everything, and that's kind of what I would want from this. What was neat though, in terms of yes, it'll be open world. It's an open city of Gotham, but they're adding. I guess the combat is supposed to be, I think, inspired by Arkham. We'll see what that actually ends up being. But if the
Yeah, the
combat is
combat
better,
did look very much like the Arkham franchise. Like
yeah,
I saw it and I was like, I haven't actually played the Arkham franchise, but this looks like Spider-Man,
which is basically Arkham combat for the most part,
which is
right?
the same combat system
Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah.
yeah,
So I thought that was kind of interesting. That's one of the things I don't like about most of the Lego games is the combat is very much just run up and hit the attack
yeah.
button. And this being something that's more engaging, it looks like they're trying to maybe age up the player base of this particular Lego game a little bit. And
Yeah.
I know the sense of humor is still going to be what Lego is. That's fine. Um, but I'd like the gameplay to be more engaging than it usually is. And I know it's usually intended to be, accessible for, your 5-year-old or something to be able to join you while you run through. You carry them, it's a lot of fun, but or at least for them.
Well, the thing to keep in mind is that for these Lego games, the first few of them are basically retro at this point, right? Like my wife has been playing through Lego Harry Potter. She just finished the first one, and I mean 100%ed it, and she's doing the second one slowly. And those are games we played together on the Xbox 360. So, right, there's a nostalgia for the Lego games, but it's funny how they have not changed as much as you might think they have. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what they do with it. Definitely Batman is a darker tone, but then you have Matt Berry as Bane, so which is crazy.
Yeah. And I love that they had him step on a Lego brick.
Yeah, which
He's like the only Lego minifigure character that's big enough to step on a Lego brick and have it hurt. And I love that joke. That's great.
yeah,
So hopefully the whole game sense of humor is in line with that while still being somewhat serious. Because even the Lego Batman movie had its serious moments, and it was a crack up of a film. So
Will Arnett is like one of my favorite voices for Batman, just because the humor. Like
yes,
he's up there with Kevin Conroy. Like I love his humor take on it. Like when he's wants a lobster thermidor, which is just so stupid, but it's really good. All right, I'm gonna Ghost of Yotai Legends. I only mentioned that because that game comes out this year. A lot of folks are looking forward to it. They announced the Legends DLC coming out early next year. The Legends DLC and the previous Ghost of Tsushima game is what was the multiplayer aspect to it. So they've announced they're basically bringing multiplayer modes to Ghost of Yotai, and a lot of people are going to be interested in that. I did not realize it was PS5 exclusive again. It's fine. Maybe you'll play
is
it on
it not
PC.
made by Sony?
I guess so. But you know what it is I have Ghost of Tsushima on PC, but it's also came out a couple years, a year, at least a year, if not two, after the PS5 version, so or PS4 version. So that's fine. But Fallout TV show. How weird is it that we have a gaming industry event and they're talking about Fallout the TV show for like a good 10 minutes?
I
So
I don't know. I don't think that's so weird anymore, given what we've had with the success. Like, finally, filmmakers and television show makers understand how to convert a property from video game to film, right? Even the
yeah,
bad ones nowadays are still decent.
yeah,
Whereas once upon a time, it was rare to get a decent one, and most of them were just god awful.
yeah,
Um, but the Fallout TV show is absolutely spectacular. And I know when it was released, what Todd Howard, is that his name? Was
yeah,
like, yeah, it is canon with the games, but the games are not necessarily canon with the show. But it seems like the show is trying really hard to be canon with the games so that anything the game does still works with the show later.
yeah,
And I appreciate the fact that it's giving us insights to how Fallout happened. Instead of just letting us see the aftermath, we get to see what led up to it, which is
yeah,
something I've always wondered about. I dig
yeah.
that.
You get backstory into the bombs dropping. You get backstory into vault tech and stuff a little bit, right? And that's
Yeah.
definitely very cool. It's I need to go back and finish that show. I enjoyed what I watched of it, but I did not finish it. Like I know this is very respectful to the original IP. Then you have like Twisted Metal, which the second season apparently is doing really really well as well. But now I worry that they announced a Mass Effect TV show, and I'm kind of worried they might screw that one up, and I don't want to mess with my Mass Effect. So I kind of want them to stop because that
That's a
Witcher show was
big
good
game to
too. But
translate.
yeah, and like Amazon's doing it, I think, right? And Amazon just canceled the Wheel of Time show that they had going, and that was not a bad show. And then they canned it after 3 seasons. It didn't, and that's a series that is epically long. And if you're not going to finish it, I'd rather you not even start. So Mass
Yeah.
Effect, it's not a 1 season show, right? So um, Call of Duty
But
Black
I
Ops. Oh, go ahead.
I did want to mention that they're switching up the release style for this one to be weekly instead of just dropping the whole thing.
Well, it shows you how much
And
confidence they have in it making the money if they're going to do it weekly, right? Because it brings them back.
I Yeah, I also kind of like that because it gives people a chance to actually watch the show and talk about it over the week instead of everybody, like, 7 people binging it that first day and
Yeah,
then everybody else getting to it over the next week or two, and then a few stragglers getting it over the next month or two. And so you never know who you can talk to about what. When it's
yeah.
released weekly, there's that discussion with the family or your friends or whatever. We discovered that with my kid when we were watching Severance. And I know it's weird that we had a 10-year-old watching Severance. Whatever, shut up. But he dug on it. He thought it was very backrooms-ish, and he really likes the backrooms. And so
Right.
that weekly release schedule, it let us sort of dissect it and have conversations about it over the week. And that was really cool. And that's not something he's used to either.
Yeah, on the other hand though, for me, like I like it when a show is bingeable because then I can sit and watch the entire thing because I don't have a lot of time to watch TV, and if I do, it's usually when my wife and kids are away for the weekend, so I can kind of get through a show. Like Invincible for me, like I like it when I can binge through seasons of Invincible. Otherwise, I
Mm.
can't keep up week to week. But I definitely appreciate the spoiler problem because I had a few of those Star Wars shows spoiled for me, where people are hopping on at 6 in the morning on Twitter or Blue Sky, dropping spoilers for episodes before I had a chance to even look at it. So that's kind of
Yeah.
frustrating. But yeah, Fallout 2, I mean, it looks pretty good. And like this is like you said, this is one where I think even Todd Howard's like looking at it thinking this is canon because it's so well done and it respects what we're doing. And you just know they're kicking themselves for not having a new Fallout game in development.
Yeah.
So Call of Duty Black Ops 7. I haven't played a Call of Duty proper. I tried Warzone
I
last year. Do you like these still?
The last one I played was Black Ops.
Okay. This is
It's been
7.
that long. The last one I played was Black Ops 1 on the Xbox 360. I'm not usually a first person shooter kind of guy, but
Yeah.
this to me looks like Inception the game, right?
Yeah.
It's so bizarre. And when I played Black Ops, I didn't give a rat's ass about the multiplayer. I loved the campaign. Some of the multiplayer stuff, like the alternate history with the zombie mode and all that, with um, what was the president in that? Richard Nixon. I
Right.
thought that was really fun and kind of cool, but I didn't. It didn't blow my mind or anything. It was just fun. But the main campaign, I absolutely adored. I thought it was really cool how they intertwined it with history and brought it full circle. It was really neat. And so Black Ops 7 looks like it has a single player campaign that I would enjoy again. And I know they tie it up at the end with a multiplayer version of that single player campaign. So you have to play through the game and then do a bunch of like essentially Black Ops roguelite type of stuff to finally complete the tail end of the game, which is
Interesting.
interesting and weird. And I'm not sure how I feel about it, but at least they're doing something new that I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I can get on board with this maybe.
It's I don't know. I when I tried Warzone, I thought I could get into it, but I'm with you. I don't like the multiplayer at all. I'm just not into it.
It's too much toxicity.
Yeah, that and just you just die so quick, and it may be a skill issue. Sure, I just can't get into it at
Yeah.
all. I don't like it at all. But the campaign and the old ones that I played, and like I'm with you. I played the old ones in the Xbox 360 and the PC, and the story was always the big thing for me. And I've seen the story campaigns in Black Ops over the years, and I've always wanted to kind of go back and play them. I just don't want to pay full price for just a 6 to 10 hour story, right? But
Yeah.
seeing the trailer on this one, I don't know the backstory to what Black Ops has been doing for the last 10 years, but you're right. It does look like Inception. It does look pretty wild. Black Ops was the one where they all got into the experimental tech for items and stuff you could play around with, and that's really rad. It looks neat, but I'm probably not going to touch it. Just playing Warzone last year was enough for me, I think, for the franchise. Looks neat, though.
The cast in this looks stellar too. Like
Oh, yeah.
they got Milo Ventimiglia for the main character, and then it's got like
Oh,
Michael
from Heroes.
Rooker and Kiernan Shipka.
Michael
I'm
Rooker
interested.
was from Guardians, right? Yeah, yeah, I know him. Yeah, that's pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
And Slither.
Yes, that too.
People
But they
are
spare no
like, what
expense in the
about
cast.
Walking Dead, guys?
I again, horror show. I've not gotten into it. I've tried to, but I'm just not into the scary stuff. I got 3 kids. I can't watch scary stuff on TV when I have kids floating around. I think that's the big ones I was going to bring up. Is there anything else you wanted to mention? I don't think they're the ones we can worry about.
No, the other three you had on the list, I was kind of eh.
Yeah, like the other one was Black Myth Zhao Kuei coming out. The folks over at Game Science, like in 2020 when they're working on Wukong, they trademarked like half a dozen Chinese mythical folk heroes for basically a franchise they were starting, and pretty ballsy gamble that you're gonna because like how could you figure like this is Black Myth Wukong. I think I wrote down here. What did they sell? Like 10 million copies within 3 days. It's considered China's first AAA studio and game, right? Like it did
Yeah.
phenomenally well. Like it's amazingly blockbuster for this kind of game. So of course they're going to make a sequel or a side story or something, and that's what this new one is going to be. And I'm sure it's going to do incredibly well. But there's so many Souls likes, and I would almost call
Yeah.
Wukong a Souls light because it's not so much on the exploration; it's more just boss battles, right? Is the focus, and that's what this will probably be. So
Yeah. Cause it's what
yeah,
actual stages, right? Instead
yeah.
of like just drop you in an open world and let you explore. I think it was somewhat level based.
I can't remember if it's level based. I just remember that while you could explore off the beaten path, there wasn't much to find. It's not like it's Elden Ring or something, right? It was more focused on getting to the next battle and really cool, epic battles. And like I said, did well. So a sequel was just a no brainer. But I just thought it was interesting that the studio in 2020 was trademarking a bunch of other ones. So honestly, they probably have 10 years of games if they keep selling well. So good on them.
Yeah.
But there's like no less than 4 Souls-like games announced during the show, right? There's one based on
It,
Divine Comedy I saw, which is crazy.
yeah. Which is funny because Chard just talked about Dante's Inferno like 2, 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
And here's another one.
yeah. It's just there's almost too many, right? Like there's always these trends in gaming, and then it feels like studios all jump on the bandwagon for like 5, 6 years, and then they eventually go into something new. Like we had
Yeah.
Battle
So
Royale for the longest time, and then roguelike deck builders, like we said this episode. It's just Souls-like. It's
well,
almost too much.
even this show had a few of those battle royales.
Still,
It's
what?
yeah, is not Time Takers one of them?
So NC Soft, I know, is an MMO studio from out of Korea.
Maybe I'm
One,
using the wrong term. Maybe it's not battle royale.
it's a
Maybe it's
hero shooter.
the hero shooters.
Yeah,
Yeah,
one's
it
a
seemed
hero
like there were a
shooter.
number of those, right?
Yeah, and then they
Or at
are
least
having
the
Time Takers is an online team shooter, so kind of like Overwatch. And then they have Cinder City World they're doing, which they're saying is an open world MMO shooter. But when NCSoft says MMO, don't think like WoW, right? Like these are the guys that did Lineage and Aeon and that kind of classic Korean style grindy MMO. There's not as much to the
yeah.
world as there is in like Final Fantasy 14. It's lighter on the world and more about grinding mobs. So online open world MMO shooter, I'm sure it's great for the folks who like that, but it's not going to be like Warframe. But NCSoft also owns like Guild Wars 2 now. Like they have a stake in that. Or they're the publisher for ArenaNet, I think. So they have a stake there. And yeah, like I'm always amazed that Guild Wars 2 is still putting out content because I thought NCSoft would pull the plug forever ago. So, but it's interesting. But yeah, I mean, like you said, the show. I mean, if I were to give it a letter grade, probably C minus, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
But like, it definitely helps. During the week, we also had the Nintendo Direct, 45 minutes, whether you like Kirby or not. Seeing Sakurai is in true form, deep diving into a game is awesome. And then Silk Song finally getting a release date. Just a lot of cool stuff. Even like Path of Exile 2 announced the next part of their early access. So like a lot of announcements happened this week. Just so much news. And the great thing for me, the takeaway is that there's so many great games coming out, and like for the rest of the year. Like everything I thought was fantastic so far, like Claire Obscure and Monster Hunter and Blueprints. There's still another dozen titles I think might be contenders for Game of the Year. I just wish I had money to buy them.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see. But yeah, I think that's a show. We are Press B to Cancel. You can find our videos over on YouTube at youtube.com/@PressB to Cancel. You can find our audio episodes at PressBToCancel.com or anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts and shows. We're also part of the SuperPod Network of shows. Check out other podcasts that are gaming related, mostly retro, like we're supposed to be, over at SuperPodNetwork.com. Wolf, how about you? You doing anything lately?
No, just working on my Sisyphean again. I've
I've made
got about
progress.
99 hours in that game this year.
Do you
I
really?
think I'm
Okay.
coming up on the end.
Yeah, I know we're supposed to do a check-in episode soon. We'll figure something out. I'll make more progress in mine
I
at some
might be
point.
done by then.
Yeah. Oh God. God damn it. Are we gonna do an episode on Ragebound, or you think you've had enough of that game?
I'm interested to talk about it. I don't think
Okay.
I'll play any more of it, but I'm interested to talk about it.
All right. I'm still working through Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. I'm probably maybe another week or so. Maybe we can squeeze in an episode to talk about it because that game is better than I thought it was, especially after playing the demo. So I wouldn't mind talking about it.
It's decent. I think
Yeah.
it's mostly not for me is where I'm at, but there's
That's
a
fair.
lot of things that I do like about it, and I'd be interested to talk about it.
All right. All right. Well, otherwise, this has been another episode of Press B to Cancel. Thanks for watching and listening.